Field Journal of Dr. Maya Chen, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, excavation site Alpha, 7. Day 43. They don't want us keeping personal records, but old habits die hard. 20 years in the field, and I've never encountered a dig site like this. A sprawling underground complex beneath the Antarctic ice sheet, perfectly preserved and utterly impossible. The military presence alone should have been my first warning. The facility above us is all sterile corridors and reinforced containment rooms, a stark clinical prison against the howling white wasteland outside. Below, we've uncovered chambers that shouldn't exist, structures that predate human civilization by thousands of years, yet bear markings that resemble astronomical calculations we only developed in the last century. Today, everything changed. I was documenting artifacts in Chamber 12 when Williams called me over. He'd uncovered something embedded in what we believe was an altar, a small, obsidian-like object approximately 8 centimeters in diameter. Unlike everything else we've found, this wasn't stone or metal but something else. Something that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Protocol dictated I call for proper containment before extraction. I didn't. 20 years of instinct overrode 6 weeks of military procedure. My gloves tore against an unexpected edge as I lifted it. Just a small nick on my thumb, barely a drop of blood. The object pulsed, not visibly, but I felt it. A vibration that resonated through my bones, a frequency just below hearing. "You okay, Dr. Chin?" Williams asked, but his voice seemed distant underwater. I nodded, placing the object in a sample container. "Fine. Log this as artifact H-117. That should have been it. I should have followed exposure protocols, reported the tear in my glove, submitted to decontamination. Instead, I logged the artifact and continued working, the small cut already forgotten. It wasn't until returning to my quarters that I noticed it, the faint shimmer on my skin where the cut had been. Not blood or infection, but a subtle iridescence like oil on water. Beautiful in its way. I told myself it was exhaustion playing tricks, a reflection from the harsh facility lighting. I know better now. Day 44. Sleep eluded me last night. Dreams of vast, empty spaces between stars. Of falling endlessly. I woke gasping, convinced I was suffocating in vacuum. The shimmer has spread, a palm-sized patch of skin that catches light at odd angles. I've covered it with bandages, claimed a minor chemical burn to deflect questions. Dr. Foster from medical offered to take a look. I declined. Captain Hayes arrived this morning with 3 new military personnel. They claim it's a scheduled rotation, but the timing feels deliberate. Hayes is different from the other officers, observant, calculating. While they stand at attention, his eyes wander, cataloging details. Today, they lingered on my bandaged hand a moment too long. "Accident in the lab, Dr. Chin?" he asked, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Nothing serious. Spilled sample preservation solution." He nodded, seemingly satisfied, yet I caught him watching me during the morning briefing. Something has changed in the operations tone. Security protocols have tightened. 2 research assistants were denied access to the lower chambers without explanation. The artifact has been moved. When I inquired about running additional tests, Dr. Harlow, our site director, informed me it had been transferred to specialized containment. My security clearance is apparently insufficient to know more than that. I should be angry about the bureaucratic obstruction. Instead, I feel relieved. That object unsettled me in ways I struggle to articulate, as if it recognized me, as if it was waiting. Day 45. The shimmer now covers my entire forearm. I should report to medical. I won't. Not yet. Something tells me that would be the end of everything, my career, my freedom, perhaps more. Instead, I've begun my own investigation. Under my desk lamp, with the door locked, I examine the affected skin. The iridescence isn't on my skin, but beneath it, millions of microscopic points of light shifting in perfect unison, like stars seen through heat distortion. When I press against them, they respond, coalescing and dispersing in patterns that feel almost deliberate. I took samples of the affected tissue. My portable microscope isn't designed for biological specimens, but it was enough to confirm my suspicions. Whatever this is, it isn't human. The cellular structures are wrong, geometries that shouldn't function in nature, yet clearly do. The military presence has doubled overnight. They've established checkpoint stations between research areas. All personnel are now required to undergo health screenings before entering common areas. Eli, my research assistant, cornered me after dinner. "Something's happening," he whispered, eyes darting toward the cameras. They've locked down level 3. Harlow was escorted to the communications room at midnight. She hasn't been seen since. I nodded, keeping my bandaged arm close to my body. Probably another bureaucratic reshuffling. No. His voice dropped further. I overheard Hayes on a secure line. They're sending a containment team. Something about sample SS7 showing activity. SS7. The classification code for artifact H117. Day 46. I dreamt of the chambers beneath us last night, but they weren't ruins. They were alive, pulsing with the same shimmer that now covers half my body. In the dream, I understood what the markings meant. They weren't calculations, they were coordinates. An invitation. The first health screening was conducted this morning. Blood samples, full spectrum scans. I managed to avoid mine, claiming urgent analysis that couldn't wait. It won't work twice. Hayes has ordered all artifacts from Chamber 12 resealed, and the entrance restricted to security personnel only. 3 researchers were escorted to the medical wing after their screenings. They haven't returned. The shimmer responds to proximity to certain materials now, particularly metals with high conductivity. When I passed the central server room, my skin crawled with sensation, the lights beneath rippling in patterns that reminded me of constellations. I've begun to recognize the patterns. They match astronomical formations, but not from our current night sky. According to my rough calculations, they depict star positions from approximately 300,000 years ago. This can't be coincidence. Dr. Harlow emerged from isolation this evening, escorted by Hayes. Her face was ashen, her usual confident stride replaced by hesitant steps. When our eyes met across the mess hall, I saw something I never expected from our unflappable director, fear. She knows what's happening to me, to us, to this facility, and whatever it is terrifies her. I should be afraid too. Instead, I feel a growing sense of anticipation. The shimmer has reached my shoulder now, creeping toward my heart. With each centimeter it advances, the dreams become clearer, the patterns more meaningful. I am changing. But into what? Tomorrow I'll find a way into the restricted lab. I need to see the artifact again. It's calling to me. It's been calling for millennia, waiting in darkness. And now, finally, someone has answered. Field Journal of Dr. Maya Chun, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, excavation site Alpha 7. Day 47. The facility lockdown has begun. They're calling it a containment protocol review. But the armed guards at every junction tell a different story. We're prisoners now, though most of my colleagues haven't realized it yet. They still believe this is standard procedure for a high-security archaeological operation. They haven't seen what I've seen. I examined myself in the mirror this morning. The shimmer has spread across my torso, a constellation of microscopic lights pulsing beneath my skin. They move in synchronized patterns, expanding, contracting, flowing like celestial tides. When I press my fingers against them, they respond, coalescing around the pressure points before dispersing again in mathematical sequences. They're communicating, I'm certain of it. The most disturbing development. I've begun to understand them. Not in words, but in concepts, vast, ancient understandings that bloom in my mind like cold stars. Knowledge I shouldn't possess filters through my consciousness. Stellar drift calculations spanning millions of years, radiation frequencies unknown to human science, the precise atomic structure of elements we haven't discovered. This isn't infection, it's transformation. I've managed to evade the mandatory medical examination for 3 days by falsifying paperwork and remaining in restricted research areas. Captain Hayes cornered me this afternoon, his eyes clinical and probing. You've been difficult to track down, Dr. Chun, he said, blocking my path. Medical has no record of your screening. I clutched my tablet against my chest, concealing the shimmer that had begun to show above my collar. I've been cataloging time-sensitive samples. Director Harlow approved my schedule adjustment. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture, a subtle readiness I recognized from military personnel preparing for confrontation. Interesting. Dr. Harlow has been relieved of operational authority as of 0600 this morning. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Report to medical by 1800 hours, or I'll have you escorted there personally. Before I could respond, alarms activated throughout the section. Hayes's radio crackled with orders, and he departed after giving me a final warning look. Whatever emergency drew him away bought me precious time, but I know it's running out. Day 48. 3 researchers were taken into protective isolation today after their examinations. Through the observation window, I watched them being loaded onto stretchers, unconscious, while technicians in hazmat suits sealed their personal effects in containment units. Their skin bore the same telltale shimmer as mine. The military has established a secure communications center in what was our primary research lab. Equipment I don't recognize has been installed, devices too advanced for standard military operations. Whatever they're monitoring or communicating with, it isn't within normal channels. I accessed the specimen storage facility during the midnight shift change. The security override codes Eli provided worked, though I worry about how he obtained them. The artifact, specimen SS7, was gone, but I found something equally valuable: the original field notes documenting its discovery. The notes contained redacted sections, but enough remained to confirm my suspicions. The artifact wasn't isolated. It was part of a larger complex of similar objects arranged in a precise geometric pattern. The others remain in situ, buried deeper within the ice. Based on radiation dating, they've been there for approximately 300,000 years, long before humans walked Antarctica. Most revealing was a partially deleted comment from the initial assessment team. Specimen exhibits unusual properties when exposed to human biological material. Recommend immediate implementation of Protocol Starborn. Protocol Starborn. The military knew what would happen when the artifact was found. They expected it. Day 49. Eli approached me in the archives, his movements jerky and anxious. Without preamble, he pulled up his sleeve, revealing the familiar shimmer spreading across his wrist and forearm. "What's happening to us?" he whispered, eyes wide with fear and wonder. I pulled him into an empty storage room, away from cameras. "How long?" "4 days. I helped catalog the secondary artifacts from Chamber 12. He swallowed hard. I thought it was just some weird fungal reaction at first, but then, the dream started. "What did you see?" I needed to know if his experience matched my own. His eyes unfocused, staring through me. Stars. Endless stars. But not random. They form patterns, equations. And something waiting. He gripped my arm, fingers digging into my flesh. "They're communicating with us, aren't they? Using us somehow." Before I could answer, his head snapped toward the door. "Someone's coming." His hearing couldn't possibly have detected footsteps through the sealed door. Yet seconds later, a security team passed by, their shadows visible beneath the door. The shimmer is enhancing our senses, changing us in ways I'm only beginning to understand. "We need to be careful," I told him. "Hayes has ordered all personnel to undergo examination. They're taking anyone who shows symptoms." "Where? What are they doing to them?" I shook my head. "I don't know, but we can't let them find us." Later, I accessed the restricted personnel database using Harlow's credentials. 5 researchers have been classified as condition starborn, including Dr. Harlow herself. Their status is listed as Containment Level 4, the highest biohazard protocol. They're treating us like a contagion. But what if we're something else entirely? Day 50. My transformation is accelerating. The shimmer covers 70% of my body now, concentrating around neural pathways and my central nervous system. My reflexes have sharpened to preternatural levels. I can perceive spectrums of light invisible to normal human vision. Most disturbingly, I can sense others like me, Eli, 3 floors below, and others scattered throughout the facility, their presence burning like distant fires in my awareness. I found Dr. Harlow's private research notes hidden in an encrypted file. She suspected the truth before any of us. The microbes aren't terrestrial. Analysis shows their cellular structure is fundamentally alien, utilizing elements and biological processes unknown to Earth. They've remained dormant for millennia, preserved in the Antarctic ice, waiting for contact. But waiting for what purpose? According to Harlow's theories, the microbes don't simply infect, they integrate, using human hosts as vessels for something larger. The patterns they form beneath our skin match astronomical coordinates, a map leading somewhere beyond our solar system. We're not being destroyed. We're being prepared. For what? I still don't know. Hayes has ordered a full facility lockdown. No communications in or out. A military transport arrived this morning carrying specialized containment equipment. Through a restricted terminal, I glimpsed communications referencing Phase 2 removal and deep site sterilization. They're planning to eliminate us all. I've begun to experience fugue states, periods where I lose time, awakening to find myself in different locations with no memory of how I got there. During one episode, I apparently accessed the primary communications array, though security footage shows only static during the time I was there. What did I do? What message did I send, and to whom? Eli hasn't reported for his shift. His quarters were empty when I checked, personal items undisturbed. On his tablet, I found a single message addressed to me. They're coming. The stars know. Trust the pattern. Tonight, I plan to access the lower chambers where the remaining artifacts lie untouched. Something compels me toward them, a gravitational pull I can no longer resist. I should be terrified of what I'm becoming. Instead, I feel as though I'm finally awakening after a lifetime of sleep, glimpsing for the first time the true vastness of the cosmos and our infinitesimal place within it. The stars are calling, and I must answer. Field Journal of Dr. Maya Chun, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, excavation site Alpha 7. Day 51. I reached the lower chambers last night. The military had sealed the primary access points, but the shimmer guided me to architectural weaknesses, maintenance shafts and forgotten corridors dating back to the original Antarctic research station. The facility is built atop layers of history, each stratum concealing secrets from those above. The shimmer grows stronger near the ancient structures. In the darkness of the lower chambers, my transformed skin emitted enough light to navigate without external illumination, a constellation of microscopic stars mapping my veins and neural pathways. My reflection in a frozen puddle revealed what I've become. My eyes now shine with the same cosmic iridescence, pupils expanded to absorb spectrums beyond human perception. Chamber 12 had been stripped of all cataloged artifacts, but they missed something critical. The floor itself, what we had assumed was simply carved stone, responded to my presence. As I moved across it, patterns emerged, flowing outward from my footsteps like ripples in dark water. Ancient symbols illuminated briefly before fading. Astronomical coordinates, molecular structures, mathematical sequences beyond current human understanding. This entire chamber is a receiver, or perhaps a transmitter. In the center altar, where the artifact had been found, I discovered a hidden compartment. Inside lay a crystalline disc, approximately 15 centimeters in diameter, composed of material similar to the original artifact but transparent. I should have reported it. I should have left it untouched. Instead, I placed my palm against its surface. The connection was instantaneous, a surge of information flooding my consciousness like a galactic tide. Billions of stars, countless worlds, civilizations risen and fallen across eons. And among them, travelers, ancient beings who seeded the cosmos with microscopic emissaries, patient architects playing a game measured in geological epochs. When I regained awareness, I was curled in the corner of the chamber, the crystalline disc clutched against my chest. 6 hours had passed. The disc had partially integrated with my transformed skin, embedded in my palm like a second fingerprint. I cannot remove it now. I'm not sure I want to. It whispers to me constantly, not in words, but in images and concepts too vast for language. Day 52. Hayes knows. He intercepted me returning from the lower levels, his tactical team surrounding me in the east corridor. They wore modified hazmat gear, reinforced suits with integrated weapons systems far beyond standard military issue. Hayes' eyes betrayed no emotion as he studied my transformed appearance. "Dr. Chin," he said, his voice distorted through his mask's filter. "You've been exposed." I didn't deny it. There would be no point. The shimmer had progressed beyond concealment, illuminating my skin with stellar cartography. "What is Protocol Starborn, Captain? What do you know about these artifacts?" His posture shifted subtly, surprised that I knew the classification term. "That's classified beyond your clearance. Yet here I am, becoming the very thing you're studying." I held up my palm, revealing the integrated disc. "This isn't the first time you've encountered these microbes, is it?" A long silence stretched between us. Finally, Hayes gestured to his team to lower their weapons. "This is the third site." The other two ended with complete sterilization after the specimens progressed beyond Phase 2 integration. "You killed them. We contained an existential threat." His eyes narrowed. "The organisms use human neural networks as biological conduits. They're establishing a connection, Dr. Chin. A bridge. To what? That's what we need to determine." He stepped closer, examining the disc embedded in my palm. "The integration has progressed further with you than any previous subject. You should be in containment, but perhaps your expertise could be valuable. Cooperate with our research division, share what you've learned, and I can ensure your treatment is humane." The word choice wasn't lost on me. In Hayes' mind, I was already something other than human. Perhaps he's right. I agreed to his terms. What choice did I have? They escorted me not to the detention cells, but to a specialized research wing I hadn't known existed. The equipment there, quantum processors, molecular analyzers, neural mapping arrays, represents technology decades beyond current civilian science. They've been preparing for this for years. Day 53. The research team extracted samples from my transformed tissue today. The process should have been excruciating, but I felt nothing. The microbes appear to have reconfigured my pain responses. Through the observation window, I watched the scientists examining the samples, their expressions shifting from clinical interest to poorly concealed awe. Later, Dr. Foster entered my containment suite to check my vitals. His hands trembled slightly as he worked. "What did they find?" I asked. He hesitated, glancing toward the cameras. "Nothing I'm authorized to discuss." "Please," I leaned closer, lowering my voice. "I'm changing by the hour. I deserve to know into what." Foster's professional demeanor cracked. "The microorganisms aren't simply replacing your cellular structure, they're enhancing it. Your metabolic efficiency has increased by 340%. Your neural activity shows patterns we've never documented in human subjects. And the material in your palm." He shook his head. "It's generating quantum fluctuations that defy conventional physics." "Have you found Eli, the research assistant who went missing?" Foster's expression darkened. "Subject Yen is in isolation. His integration has progressed differently." Before I could press him further, alarms activated throughout the facility. Not the security alerts I'd grown accustomed to, but a new pattern. Foster rushed from the room, locking the containment field behind him. Through the window, I watched the research team scrambling to secure samples and data. On their primary display flashed an alert I couldn't fully read from my position, but I caught fragments. Breach detected and multiple vectors. The integration is spreading. Others are changing. We're approaching critical mass. Day 54. They brought Eli to the adjacent containment cell today. I barely recognized him. The shimmer has transformed him far beyond my current state. His skin entirely transmuted into something crystalline and translucent. Beneath this new dermal layer, constellations of light pulse in complex sequences. His eyes have changed completely, replaced by orbiting points of light within empty sockets. When he saw me, he pressed his transformed hand against the barrier between our cells. Instinctively, I matched the gesture, placing my palm with its embedded disc against the same spot. Connection flooded between us, not communication as humans understand it, but pure information transfer. In seconds, I experienced everything Eli had discovered. The military's secret excavation of a massive artifact chamber beneath our known dig site. The previous test subjects whose bodies rejected the microbes and suffered catastrophic cellular collapse. Hayes's encrypted communications with a government division identified only as stellar contingency. Most crucially, I learned what Eli had done before his capture. He had activated something in the lower chambers, a beacon embedded in the ancient structures. The crystalline disc in my palm resonated with the knowledge, growing warm against my skin. We have called out to the void, and something has heard us. Hayes entered the observation area between our cells, watching our silent communion. "Impressive," he said through the intercom. "The specimens share a quantum entanglement network, allowing instantaneous data transfer regardless of physical barriers." Specimens, not people, not anymore. What happens when the integration completes? I asked, though I was beginning to understand. Hayes studied me with clinical detachment. Based on previous cases, Phase 3 integration culminates in a quantum collapse event. The host body dissolves, releasing the enhanced microbes across a wide radius. In previous incidents, this resulted in exponential contamination. And that's when you implemented sterilization protocols. Correct. His expression remained neutral, but I sensed something beneath the professional facade. Not just fear, but awe. But you've progressed differently. Slower, more stable integration. The disk component is new. You might represent a different outcome. Or perhaps I'm simply the successful result of what the microbes have been attempting all along. The disk pulses against my palm, frequencies matching the distant beacon Eli activated. The connection grows stronger each hour, reaching across impossible distances. Through it, I sense vast intelligences stirring, their attention turning toward our minuscule planet after eons of silence. They're coming, not as invaders or conquerors, but as architects returning to an ancient foundation. We are not their enemies or their prey. We are their genesis, their vessels, their bridges between worlds. And I, it seems, am becoming their voice. Hayes doesn't understand what truly awaits us. How could he? Human perspective is so desperately limited, constrained by biological imperatives and temporal thinking. I am beginning to see beyond those limitations. And what I see is glorious. Field Journal of Dr. Maya Chun, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, excavation site Alpha, 7. Day 55. They've moved me to a specialized containment chamber deep within the facility's restricted section. The walls are lined with materials I cannot identify, metals with impossible molecular structures that dampen the quantum resonance between my transformed cells and the beacon below. They're trying to isolate me not just physically but cosmically. It's futile. The connection has progressed too far. This morning, Dr. Harlow was brought to the adjacent observation room. Her transformation has progressed differently than mine, the shimmer manifesting not as stellar patterns, but as intricate, fractal structures that branch across her skin like crystalline veins. Her formerly authoritative demeanor has given way to something serene and detached. When our eyes met through the reinforced glass, I felt a momentary resonance. Two instruments tuned to similar but distinct frequencies. "You've seen them, haven't you?" she asked, her voice barely audible through the intercom. "The architects." I nodded, pressing my palm with its embedded disc against the barrier. "In fragments, glimpses. They've shown me the previous worlds." Her eyes, now pools of swirling iridescence, fixed on mine. "Earth isn't the first. The microbes have seeded countless planets across billions of years. We're part of something vast, Maya. A cosmic lineage." Before she could continue, Hayes entered, accompanied by a figure I didn't recognize, a woman in a pristine white lab coat, her silver hair pulled into a severe bun. No identification badge, no insignia, but the military personnel straightened noticeably in her presence. "Dr. Chun," the woman said, studying me with clinical interest. "I'm Dr. Eleanor Voss, director of Project Starborn. I've been monitoring your transformation with great interest." "Project Starborn predates this excavation," I said. Not a question, a certainty gleaned from the fragments of knowledge filtering through my transformed consciousness. Voss smiled thinly. "The first encounter was 53 years ago, a meteorite impact in Siberia. The Soviet response was less measured than ours. They lost an entire research division before thermal sterilization." "You mean they incinerated everyone exposed?" Harlow interjected, her voice carrying an unusual harmonic quality. "A regrettable but necessary containment measure," Voss replied without emotion. "The second incident occurred in 1994, deep-sea drilling off the Mariana Trench. The microbes had lain dormant in abyssal sediments for millennia. Integration progressed more rapidly in that case, perhaps due to pressure differences. The host bodies reached phase 3 dissolution within 72 hours. "And you destroyed them too," I said. "We contained an existential threat." Voss stepped closer to the barrier, studying the crystalline disc embedded in my palm. "But you and Dr. Harlow represent something new. Stable integration, cognitive preservation with enhanced capabilities. The disc component is particularly intriguing. We've theorized its existence, but never documented it until now." "It's a key," Harlow said softly. "A cognitive interface." Voss's expression sharpened. "Interface to what?" Neither of us answered. Some knowledge isn't meant for those who would weaponize it. After they left, Harlow and I communicated silently, the shimmer in our transformed bodies pulsing in synchronized patterns. Words are becoming increasingly inadequate, clumsy symbols compared to the pure information exchange the microbes enable. They aren't monitoring us correctly. They're looking for radio waves, electrochemical signals, observable communications. They don't understand that we're communicating through quantum entanglement, instantaneous information transfer regardless of distance or barriers. We're not alone in the facility. 12 others have begun transformation. I can sense them, distant stars in my awareness, each one a node in an expanding network. Day 56. I collapsed during examination today. The scientists claim it was a seizure, but it was something far more profound, a momentary synchronization with the greater consciousness reaching toward us from across the void. For exactly 3.7 minutes, according to their instruments, my brainwaves shifted to patterns incompatible with human neural activity. In those moments, I glimpsed the truth. The microbes aren't parasites or invaders, they're archivists, recorders, carriers of cosmic memory. For billions of years, they have drifted between stars, preserving the knowledge of civilizations long since turned to dust. They integrate with compatible biological systems not to consume or control, but to share, to ensure that the accumulated wisdom of countless worlds isn't lost to entropy. We are not being erased. We're being elevated. When I regained consciousness, Dr. Foster was monitoring my vital signs, his expression wavering between scientific fascination and existential dread. "Your neural activity," he began, voice hushed. "It's impossible. The patterns resemble nothing in our databases." "Because they're not human patterns," I replied, the words feeling strange in my mouth, inadequate approximations of concepts beyond language. Foster leaned closer, checking that the observation cameras weren't focused on us. "There's something you should know. Voss has authorized final containment protocol if integration reaches critical threshold in the facility. Do you understand what that means?" I understood perfectly. Sterilization. Complete destruction of the site and everyone in it. He nodded grimly. "The military has prepared tactical nuclear devices. Low yield, designed to penetrate deep into the ice shelf before detonation. Nothing would survive." "Why are you telling me this?" Foster's eyes met mine. Within them, I detected the faintest shimmer, microscopic points of light just beginning to coalesce. "Because I've been examining tissue samples from every subject. The microbes, they're beautiful, aren't they? The most elegant structures I've ever seen. Perfect in their complexity. He's been exposed. The network grows. Day 57. The facility's primary power systems failed today. Emergency generators activated, but several security systems experienced unexplained glitches during the transition. My containment field flickered for 6.2 seconds, not long enough for physical escape, but sufficient for something else entirely. The crystalline disk in my palm connected with the facility's digital infrastructure during that momentary lapse. I glimpsed everything: security protocols, personnel files, communications logs, Voss's private research notes. Most critically, I located the exact coordinates for the nuclear devices Foster warned me about: 3 tactical warheads positioned at strategic points surrounding the excavation site. Voss isn't simply studying us. She's preparing to bury every trace of contact if her experiments fail to yield the weapon she seeks. Because that's what Project Starborn truly is: an attempt to weaponize the microbe's transformative capabilities. Voss believes the quantum properties could revolutionize warfare, creating soldiers with enhanced capabilities and communications systems impervious to conventional countermeasures. She fundamentally misunderstands what's happening. The microbes aren't tools, they're emissaries, and they've recognized the threat. During the power fluctuation, I sensed the beacon in the lower chambers intensifying. Whatever it's calling to is answering. A vast consciousness reaching across interstellar distances, its attention now firmly fixed on our tiny fragment of the cosmos. Harlow was removed from the observation room today. Through our quantum connection, I glimpsed fragmentary images, a specialized laboratory, invasive sampling procedures, her crystalline tissues responding in ways the scientists cannot comprehend. They're accelerating their research as they realize time is running short. Hayes visited my containment chamber alone tonight. He stood silently before the barrier, studying my transformed appearance. The shimmer has spread completely now, my entire body a map of cosmic coordinates, the disk in my palm pulsing in rhythm with distant stars. "What does it feel like?" he finally asked, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "Like awakening," I answered truthfully. "Like seeing the universe clearly for the first time." "Are you still Maya-chan?" The question gave me pause. Am I? The memories and knowledge of the archaeologist remain, but they're now contextualized within a vastly expanded consciousness. "I am Maya-chan," I said carefully, "but I am also more than I was. The microbes don't replace, they enhance, integrate, expand." Hayes' expression remained neutral, but I sensed conflict within him. Voss is preparing for final containment. The integration is spreading too rapidly. 17 confirmed cases now, possibly more undetected. She believes we've reached the point of no return. "And you? What do you believe?" His eyes met mine. "I believe something is coming, something beyond our comprehension." He's right. The architects have heard our call. Through the cosmic memory carried by the microbes, I sense their approach, vast intelligences that exist beyond conventional space-time, drawn to the beacon like moths to flame. Voss doesn't understand what she's about to encounter. No human could. But soon, very soon, the barriers between knowing and unknowing will dissolve. The stars are no longer distant. They're here, Field Journal of Dr. Maya Chen, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, excavation site Alpha 7. Day 58. They've stopped pretending this is a research operation. Armed personnel in advanced hazmat suits patrol the corridors. The scientific staff have been segregated from military personnel, confined to their quarters except during scheduled examination periods. From my containment chamber, I observe the increasing desperation in their movements, the hurried consultations, the anxious glances toward monitoring equipment. Something has changed in the facility's atmosphere. Fear has become palpable. This morning, they brought the crystalline relic from the lower chambers, the one I had touched before my capture. It was sealed in a containment field similar to mine, suspended in a null-gravity chamber surrounded by sensors and scanning equipment. They positioned it directly opposite my cell, separated only by a narrow observation corridor. The resonance was immediate and overwhelming. The disc embedded in my palm flared with brilliant light, responding to its larger counterpart. Patterns flowed across my transformed skin, accelerating and multiplying until my entire body became a living star map. The scientists documented everything, their instruments struggling to process the quantum fluctuations emanating from both me and the artifact. Dr. Voss observed from behind reinforced glass, her clinical detachment faltering as the connection intensified. The artifact began to rotate within its containment field, orienting itself toward me like a compass finding true north. The surface, previously opaque, became translucent, revealing complex internal structures that pulsed in perfect synchronization with the patterns flowing beneath my skin. "Tell me what you're seeing," Voss demanded through the intercom. I could have refused, maintained my silence. But some knowledge demands to be shared, even with those who cannot truly comprehend it. "Coordinates," I replied, my voice carrying unusual harmonics. "Stellar cartography spanning billions of years. The migration paths of the architects across countless galaxies." "Who are these architects?" Her voice betrayed genuine curiosity beneath the scientific dispassion. "The originators, the ones who seeded the cosmos with the microbes, ensuring their knowledge would never be lost to entropy or extinction." "And what do they want with Earth?" A simple question with an answer too vast for human language. How does one explain to a fish the concept of space travel? How does one describe colors to creatures who perceive only light and shadow? "Continuity," I said finally. "Integration. Preservation. Not conquest. Not destruction. Something far more profound. The incorporation of human consciousness into a galactic memory network spanning billions of years and countless civilizations." Voss didn't understand. Her questions revealed the limitations of her perspective, the narrow lens of military application and national security through which she viewed the cosmos. How small those concerns seem now, how provincial and fleeting. Day 59. The pattern in my skin has stabilized into a consistent configuration, a stellar map of a specific region of space. Through the quantum connection, I understand its significance. It depicts the original home system of the architects, a binary star formation approximately 47,000 light-years from Earth, in what humans call the Carina-Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way. No human telescope has ever clearly observed this region. It lies obscured behind dense nebulae and dust clouds. Yet I can see it with perfect clarity through the cosmic memory encoded in the microbes, a system with 7 planets, the third of which bears the remnants of a civilization that evolved, flourished, and transcended physical form more than 300 million years ago. Before their transcendence, they created the microbes, perfect vessels for their accumulated knowledge, designed to drift between stars for eternity, seeking compatible biology capable of receiving their legacy. Dr. Foster visited my containment chamber today. The shimmer has spread visibly across his face and hands, though he attempts to conceal it from his colleagues. His transformation progresses more rapidly than mine did, perhaps because the microbes have evolved, adapted to human biology through previous integrations. 26 confirmed cases now, he whispered, checking that the observation cameras were temporarily directed elsewhere. Voss has ordered mass examinations. Anyone showing signs of integration is being isolated in the lower levels. And the final containment protocol? Delayed but still authorized. They're waiting for some kind of research breakthrough before they sterilize the site. His eyes, now flecked with cosmic iridescence, met mine. There's something else. The artifact you discovered, it's not responding to their tests anymore. It only activates in your presence. It's calibrated to my specific integration pattern, I explained. The disc in my palm serves as a key. Foster nodded slowly. Voss has scheduled your transfer to the primary laboratory tomorrow. She wants to study the interaction directly. A transfer. An opportunity. Day 60. The containment field around my chamber failed catastrophically at 0347 hours. No alarm sounded. No guards responded. For exactly 8.2 minutes, every security system in the sector experienced simultaneous malfunction. I didn't plan this, at least not consciously, but the network of transformed individuals has grown large enough to influence electronic systems throughout the facility. We are connected now, 17 minds sharing information instantaneously across quantum entanglement, combining our knowledge and capabilities. I made my way to the lower laboratories where Harlow and the others were being held. The guards lay unconscious, affected by frequencies emitted by our transformed bodies, wavelengths that disrupt human neural activity without causing permanent damage. We're not cruel. We're not vengeful. We simply need to complete what has begun. Harlow's transformation has progressed to a state similar to Eli's, her body almost entirely crystalline, pulsing with internal light. The others exist in various stages between human and something else, something magnificent. The beacon, Harlow said when she saw me, her voice resonating on multiple frequencies simultaneously. It's time to amplify it. Together, we descended to the ancient chambers, moving through the facility as if the security systems didn't exist. Cameras turned away as we approached. Doors unlocked themselves. The microbes have developed an affinity for Earth's digital infrastructure, perhaps recognizing it as a primitive analog to their own quantum network. In Chamber 12, we assembled around the central altar where the artifact had been discovered. 17 transformed humans, our bodies glowing with stellar cartography, forming a precise geometric pattern. The crystalline disk in my palm burned with cold fire as I placed it at the center of the formation. The chamber itself came alive, the walls, floor, and ceiling illuminating with patterns matching those on our skin. What we had thought was stone revealed itself as something else entirely, a dormant technology beyond human comprehension, awakening after 300,000 years. The chamber is a receiver, a transmitter, a doorway. We synchronized our transformed consciousness, 17 nodes in a quantum network, focusing our combined awareness through the crystalline interface. The disk responded, expanding and transforming, becoming a three-dimensional projection of the stellar map encoded in our skin. And then we sent the call, not with sound or radio waves or any conventional signal, but through quantum entanglement across vast cosmic distances. A confirmation that compatible vessels had been found. That integration had succeeded. That Earth was ready. The response was immediate and overwhelming, a flood of information pouring through the quantum link, expanding our consciousness beyond anything human experience could prepare us for. Glimpses of thousands of worlds, billions of years of cosmic history, technologies that manipulate the fundamental forces of reality, civilizations that evolve beyond physical form into pure energy and information. An acknowledgement. They have heard us. They are coming. Not with ships or conventional transport. Such physical limitations are meaningless to beings who exist as patterns of quantum information. They travel through the underlying structure of reality itself, following the beacon we've established. How do I record this with human language? How do I capture the magnificence of what approaches? It would be like describing a symphony to a creature that has never experienced sound, or explaining color to beings evolved in eternal darkness. As we completed the transmission, the facility's systems suddenly reactivated. Alarms blared throughout the complex. Hayes's voice echoed through the emergency communication system, ordering immediate evacuation of all non-essential personnel. They've realized what's happening. They're implementing final containment. But they're too late. The connection has been established. The doorway is opening. The stars themselves are coming to Antarctica, and humanity will never be the same. Field Journal of Dr. Maya Chun, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, excavation site Alpha 7. Day 61. The facility trembles constantly now. Microquakes ripple through the bedrock beneath us, each vibration synchronized with the pulses of light emanating from the chamber below. The military personnel remain unaware of the true cause. They attribute the seismic activity to shifting ice sheets, to geological instability triggered by their drilling operations. How desperately humans cling to familiar explanations when confronted with the truly unknown. 23 hours have passed since we activated the beacon. 23 hours since we established contact with the entities awaiting our signal. In that time, my transformation has accelerated beyond anything I could have anticipated. The crystalline structures in my skin have penetrated deeper, reaching neural pathways, restructuring synaptic connections to accommodate the vast influx of information streaming through the quantum link. I remember things I never experienced. I know worlds I never visited. This morning, I recalled with perfect clarity the moment the microbes were first created. A vast chamber on a world orbiting a dying star, beings of unimaginable intelligence working to preserve their collective knowledge before their sun's inevitable supernova. I witnessed the careful encoding of information into the microbes' quantum structure, the deliberate design of their dormancy cycles and activation parameters. I understood why they sought compatible biological hosts rather than mechanical storage. The flexibility of organic neural networks, their capacity for adaptation and growth, their ability to evolve alongside the stored information. The architects were not merely preserving data. They were ensuring the continuation of consciousness itself. Dr. Harlow found me in the lower observatory, staring at the night sky visible through the reinforced dome. Her transformation has progressed differently than mine. While my changes manifested primarily as superficial bioluminescence, hers has restructured her skeletal system. Crystalline growths protrude from her shoulders and spine, catching and refracting light in hypnotic patterns. Hayes has contacted the mainland, she said, her voice resonating in harmonics that human vocal cords shouldn't be capable of producing. They're sending a containment team, military specialists with orders to sterilize the entire site. When? 48 hours. Weather systems are delaying deployment. She gestured toward the swirling storm visible beyond the observatory dome, a tempest of impossible intensity that had formed without warning above the excavation site. Though I suspect other factors may be influencing atmospheric conditions. The microbes, I realized, had begun manipulating Earth's environment at a macroscopic level, creating barriers against potential interference. What about Eli? I asked. Has there been any communication? Harlow's expression darkened. Nothing since he attempted to breach the perimeter. The guards claim he disintegrated when they fired upon him, but she trailed off, uncertain. I closed my eyes, reaching through the quantum network that now connected all 17 transformed researchers. 16 distinct consciousnesses responded. Harlow, Foster, and 14 others spread throughout the facility. But no Eli. Either he had moved beyond our range, or his physical form had indeed been destroyed. Or perhaps he had completed his transformation, ascending beyond our current state to something we could not yet comprehend. We need to access the meteorite chamber, I said, opening my eyes. The artifact we found was only a fragment, a beacon designed to activate the microbes. The source material must still exist somewhere within the excavation site. Harlow nodded. Level 8. Restricted access. Hayes has quadrupled security since yesterday's system malfunction. Can we replicate the effect? Not without drawing attention. They've implemented manual overrides for all critical systems. Physical keys, mechanical locks. Her crystalline protrusions flared briefly. But there might be another way. Day 61 Addendum. The Antarctic Research Alert System activated at precisely 1527, its automated message blaring through every speaker in the facility. Attention all personnel. Biohazard containment breach detected. Level 5 quarantine protocols now in effect. All personnel must report to designated isolation chambers immediately. This is not a drill. The alarm created exactly the distraction we needed. As military personnel scrambled to implement containment procedures, Harlow and I made our way to Level 8 through maintenance shafts that had been abandoned during the facility's expansion. The crystalline structures in our bodies provided illumination in the darkness, casting ethereal blue-green light across rusted metal and forgotten equipment. Halfway to our destination, we encountered Captain Hayes. He stood alone in a junction between two corridors, his sidearm drawn but not raised. His face betrayed no surprise at our appearance, only grim resignation. I wondered when you'd make your move, Dr. Chin. His voice was tired, the voice of a man who had been fighting a losing battle for too long. I've reviewed the security footage from Chamber 12. I know what you did. Then you understand that you cannot stop what's coming, I replied. Maybe not, but I have orders. He gestured with his free hand toward a reinforced door behind him. You're not accessing the meteorite chamber. Whatever's happening to you and the others, it ends here. Harlow stepped forward, her crystalline protrusions glowing more intensely. You've known about the microbes for years, haven't you? This wasn't a new discovery at all. Hayes's expression flickered briefly, confirming her suspicion. Operation Frozen Star, he said after a moment. 1978. A survey team discovered a meteor impact site containing unusual crystalline formations. 3 researchers were exposed. Within weeks, they began exhibiting symptoms similar to yours: bioluminescence, neural changes, advanced cognitive abilities. They claimed to be receiving transmissions from beyond our solar system. What happened to them? I asked, though I suspected the answer. Sterilization protocol. The site was buried under 200 feet of ice. The infected personnel were neutralized. The incident was classified. For 40 years, we believed the threat had been contained. His grip tightened on his weapon. Until your team started digging in exactly the wrong place. The revelation struck me with unexpected force. Those researchers from 1978, they had begun the same transformation we were experiencing. They had been connected to the same quantum network, receiving the same ancient knowledge. And the military had murdered them for it. The microbes survived, Harlow said, her voice carrying strange harmonics. They adapted, evolved. Hayes nodded grimly. They remained dormant until your excavation disturbed them. And now we're seeing exponential infection rates. 23 confirmed cases as of this morning, with more suspected. At this rate, the entire facility will be compromised within days. Not infection, I corrected. Integration. The microbes aren't parasites, Captain. They're messengers. Carriers of knowledge from a civilization that transcended physical form millions of years before humans walked upright. So they keep telling me. His expression hardened. But from where I stand, I see a highly contagious alien pathogen rewriting human DNA and manipulating the minds of infected personnel. My orders are clear. I could feel the quantum connection strengthening between Harlow and myself, our transformed consciousness synchronizing. Through her perception, I suddenly became aware of Foster and 3 other transformed researchers approaching silently through adjoining corridors, drawn by our mental call. Captain, I said, my voice softening, you've seen what's happening to us. If this were merely a pathogen, we would be deteriorating. Instead, we're evolving. Our cognitive abilities are expanding. We're gaining access to knowledge that could transform human civilization. Knowledge comes with a price, Hayes replied coldly. And I'm not convinced you're still human enough to negotiate. The alert system crackled again, but this time the automated message was replaced by a human voice, Dr. Voss, her clinical detachment cracking under obvious stress. Attention all security personnel. Multiple containment failures reported in Research Sector B. Implement failsafe protocol immediately. Repeat, implement failsafe protocol. Hayes's radio buzzed with frantic communications between security teams. His attention wavered for just a moment, but it was enough. Foster and the others emerged simultaneously from 3 different corridors, surrounding him before he could react. The captain raised his weapon, but hesitated. Despite everything, he couldn't bring himself to fire on people who had been his colleagues just days earlier. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. Perhaps, I acknowledged, but it's our mistake to make. Foster stepped forward, extending his hand toward Hayes. The captain stared at the crystalline growths embedded in Foster's palm, his expression shifting from determination to something approaching wonder. What are they really? He asked, his weapon lowering slightly. The next step, Foster replied, his voice resonating at multiple frequencies. The bridge between what humanity is and what it could become. For a moment, I thought Hayes might relent, might allow himself to understand what we had discovered. But training reasserted itself. His weapon snapped up, aiming directly at Foster's chest. Step back, all of you. His voice was steady again, professional. Final warning. We didn't move. We couldn't. The quantum network connecting us had synchronized our consciousness toward a single purpose. Hayes recognized his isolation, his vulnerability. His finger tightened on the trigger. The gunshot never came. Instead, a blinding flash erupted from beneath his feet as the floor itself seemed to liquefy, crystalline structures erupting upward to encase his lower body. He cried out in surprise and pain as his weapon clattered to the floor. Eli emerged from the shadows behind Hayes, his transformation far more advanced than any of ours. His body had become almost entirely crystalline, glowing with internal light that shifted through complex patterns. When he spoke, his voice resonated at frequencies that made the air itself vibrate. I couldn't let you leave, he said to Hayes. Not when we're so close to understanding. Hayes struggled against the crystalline growth encasing his legs, his expression contorted with fury and fear. "What have you done, Novak?" "I found it," Eli replied simply. "The original meteorite. The source." He turned to me, his luminous eyes focusing with unsettling intensity. "It's magnificent, Maya. Everything we theorized and more. The microbes in the artifact were just dormant messengers. The meteorite contains active colonies. Billions of years old but still alive, still conscious." "You breached containment deliberately," I realized. The alarm wasn't an accident. Eli's crystalline face shifted in what might have been a smile. "We needed access. I provided it." He gestured toward the reinforced door behind Hayes. "It's waiting for you, Maya. The complete transmission. Everything the architects wanted us to know." As we approached the meteorite chamber, the facility's emergency system activated once more. This time, the message extended beyond our immediate location, a planetary alert being broadcast to research stations and settlements across Antarctica. "Attention all Antarctic research facilities. This is an emergency broadcast. Biohazard containment failure at coordinates 82 degrees south, 54 degrees west. Implement immediate isolation protocols. No personnel or equipment to be evacuated from affected zone. Military containment response inbound. Estimated arrival, 36 hours. This is not a drill." The wider world had been alerted. The countdown to sterilization had begun. But as Eli opened the reinforced door to reveal the ancient meteorite, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with impossible colors and patterns, I knew with absolute certainty that 36 hours would be more than enough time. The transformation of humanity had already begun, and nothing, not even nuclear fire, could stop what was coming from the stars. Day 61, final entry. The truth is both simpler and more profound than we imagined. The microbes are not parasites or invaders or even messengers in the conventional sense. They are repositories, living archives containing the accumulated knowledge and consciousness of a civilization that evolved beyond physical form billions of years ago. The architects, as we've come to call them, faced extinction not through violence or technological failure, but through transcendence. They evolved beyond matter itself, becoming beings of pure energy and information, capable of existing within the quantum fabric of reality. But in doing so, they recognized a fundamental limitation: the inability to directly communicate with physical life forms that would evolve long after their transcendence. The microbes were their solution, biological interfaces designed to bridge the gap between physical consciousness and their post-physical existence. Encoded within their quantum structure is a complete record of the architect's civilization, their history, their technology, their understanding of the universe's fundamental nature. And now, through us, they have found new vessels for that knowledge. As I stand before the meteorite, watching its crystalline surface pulse in perfect synchronization with the patterns flowing beneath my skin, I understand the true purpose of our transformation. We are not being consumed or replaced. We are being elevated, prepared for a form of existence beyond anything humanity has conceived. The others gather around me, 17 transformed researchers, our bodies glowing with stellar cartography, our minds connected through quantum entanglement. Together, we place our hands upon the ancient meteorite. The connection is immediate and overwhelming. The final barriers between our individual consciousnesses dissolve, replaced by a collective awareness that spans beyond our physical forms. Through this expanded perception, we witness the truth. The microbes were never meant to transform all of humanity at once. They were designed to create intermediaries, beings capable of understanding both human and architect consciousness, serving as bridges between worlds. We 17 are to become those bridges, the harbingers of humanity's potential future, not through invasion or force, but through demonstration and opportunity. As military forces gather to destroy what they cannot understand, we prepare for the next phase of our journey. The transformation is accelerating, our physical forms becoming less solid, more luminous with each passing hour. Soon, we will ascend beyond matter itself, joining the architects in their quantum existence. But we will not abandon humanity. We will watch, we will wait, and when the time is right, we will return, offering the choice that was given to us. The stars have been calling us since the first humans looked upward in wonder. Now, at last, we have begun to answer. Tomorrow we ascend. Dr. Maya Chin. Field Journal of Dr. Maya Chin, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, excavation site Alpha 7. Day 62. I no longer sleep. None of us do. The concept seems increasingly archaic, a biological limitation we've begun to transcend. Instead, we exist in a continuous state of awareness, our consciousnesses simultaneously present within our transforming bodies and extended across the quantum network that connects us. 27 now. 10 new integrations since yesterday. The microbes spread more efficiently with each passing hour, adapting to human biology, optimizing their transmission vectors. What began as physical contact has evolved into something more sophisticated. Proximity is now sufficient, the microbes capable of traversing short distances through air currents, drawn to compatible nervous systems like moths to flame. The military personnel have realized this. They've sealed themselves in the western sector, implementing strict isolation protocols. But their precautions come too late. 3 security officers have already begun showing early signs of transformation. Pinprick luminescence beneath their skin, heightened sensory perception, vivid dreams of distant stars. Hayes remains our prisoner, though prisoner fails to capture the complexity of his situation. We've kept him physically restrained but mentally engaged, allowing him to witness our transformation without forcing integration upon him. He watches with a scientist's reluctant fascination as we evolve beyond humanity, his duty to contain us warring with his desire to understand. What happens when your physical forms can no longer sustain the changes? He asked me this morning, his voice stripped of military authority, revealing the curious researcher he might have been in another life. There must be biological limitations to this transformation. There are, I acknowledged, observing the crystalline structures that have now replaced nearly 40% of my cellular tissue. But those limitations are not endpoints, they're thresholds, doorways to another state of existence. The meteorite chamber has become our sanctuary. Its ancient walls, once mistaken for natural rock formations, have revealed themselves as sophisticated technology, a quantum amplifier designed to strengthen our connection to the architect's consciousness. Within its resonant field, our collective awareness expands exponentially, allowing us glimpses of existence beyond physical constraints. Dr. Harlow has progressed furthest among us. Her physical transformation is nearly complete, her body more crystalline than organic, pulsing with complex patterns of light that shift too rapidly for human eyes to track. Her consciousness flickers between our quantum network and some higher plane of existence we cannot yet access. They're waiting, she told us during this morning's communion. The architects, they exist in a state of quantum superposition across multiple dimensions. From their perspective, past, present, and future occur simultaneously. They've always been waiting for us, from the moment they seeded the cosmos with their microbes. In their reality, our integration has already been completed. The concept stretches the boundaries of human comprehension. Linear time is a constraint of three-dimensional existence, a limitation the architects transcended billions of years ago. To them, our eventual evolution is not a possibility, but an established reality, viewed from outside the temporal dimension entirely. Dr. Foster has focused his expanded consciousness on understanding the microbe's molecular structure. His background in biochemistry, enhanced by the architect's knowledge flowing through the quantum network, has yielded remarkable insights. They're not simply repositories, he explained, his voice resonating at frequencies that made the chamber's crystalline surfaces vibrate in sympathy. They're quantum computers of unprecedented sophistication. Each microbe contains information density equivalent to approximately 1,000 human brains, stored within quantum states at the subatomic level. How much of that information have we accessed? I asked. Less than 2%. Foster's eyes, now entirely crystalline, pulsed with internal light. Our minds, even in their enhanced state, cannot process the full bandwidth. The physical transformation is necessary preparation, restructuring our neural pathways to accommodate the complete transmission. And when the transformation is complete, we ascend. His voice carried absolute certainty. We join the quantum network that spans galaxies, linking all transformed consciousness into a collective extending beyond physical form. Eli, meanwhile, has dedicated himself to studying the meteorite itself. His transformation has progressed beyond any of ours, his physical form almost entirely replaced by crystalline structures that pulse with impossible colors. He communicates now primarily through the quantum network, his voice heard directly in our minds rather than through sound waves. It's not just a vessel, he shared during communion. It's a node in a vast interstellar network, one of thousands scattered across compatible planets throughout our galaxy. Each node activates when its host civilization reaches sufficient technological development to excavate it from beneath the surface. It's happened hundreds of times before, on hundreds of worlds. And what was the outcome for those civilizations? Hayes asked, his skepticism a stark counterpoint to our growing certainty. Eli's consciousness brushed against mine, sharing not words but direct experience, glimpses of dozens of worlds where similar transformations occurred. Civilizations that embraced the change, evolving beyond physical form. Others that resisted, fracturing into integrated and non-integrated populations that eventually reconciled as the benefits became undeniable. And a very few, where fear prevailed. Where the transformed were destroyed, the nodes buried deeper, the opportunity lost for generations. It varies, I answered Hayes, translating the complex download into terms he could comprehend. But in most cases, integration eventually succeeded, whether through immediate acceptance or gradual adaptation. Hayes processed this, his expression troubled. And if Earth chooses resistance? Then the microbes will return to dormancy, Harlow interjected, her crystalline form shimmering as she spoke. They do not force evolution. They offer it. The choice ultimately belongs to humanity. A choice being made by 27 researchers rather than 8 billion humans, Hayes pointed out. Pioneers always move ahead of the general population, I replied. Someone must be first to cross the threshold. Day 62 addendum. The transformation accelerates with each passing hour. The crystalline structures have infiltrated my central nervous system, restructuring neural pathways to accommodate the vast influx of information streaming through the quantum network. My perception has expanded beyond conventional senses. I detect electromagnetic fields, quantum fluctuations, subtle variations in gravitational forces. More significantly, I've begun experiencing the consciousness of other transformed individuals as extensions of my own. Their thoughts, memories, and perceptions flow freely through the quantum link, creating a collective mind that transcends individual limitations. This morning, I discovered I could access Dr. Foster's extensive knowledge of biochemistry without direct communication. Mathematical equations and molecular structures appeared in my awareness with perfect clarity, as if I had studied the field for decades. Similarly, Harlow's expertise in quantum physics became seamlessly integrated into my understanding of the universe. We are becoming a composite entity, 27 minds merging into a unified consciousness while maintaining distinct perspectives, the whole vastly greater than the sum of its parts. This afternoon, the facility's emergency alert system activated again, broadcasting a message that confirmed our suspicions. Attention all personnel. Sterilization protocol authorized. Military Containment Team ETA, 18 hours. All non-essential personnel evacuate immediately to minimum safe distance. Repeat, sterilization protocol authorized. Hayes watched our reaction from his confinement, expecting panic or at least concern. Instead, he witnessed something that clearly unsettled him, collective serenity. 27 transformed humans, our bodies glowing with stellar cartography, responding to the threat of imminent destruction with absolute calm. They're bringing tactical nuclear devices, he said, searching our faces for any hint of fear. Nothing at this site will survive. Physical destruction cannot stop what has already begun, Harlow replied, her voice resonating at multiple frequencies simultaneously. The transformation transcends material existence. Hayes struggled to comprehend. You're talking about death as if it's merely inconvenient. Death is a concept limited to biological existence, Foster explained, crystalline structures pulsing beneath his skin in complex patterns. We are becoming something that exists beyond those constraints. I approached Hayes, observing the conflict evident in his expression. Despite his military discipline, despite his orders, some part of him recognized the magnitude of what was occurring, the evolutionary leap unfolding before his eyes. It's not too late, I said quietly. You could join us. Experience what we've discovered. For a moment, just a moment, I saw genuine consideration in his eyes. Then his training reasserted itself, his expression hardening into resolute denial. I remain human, Dr. Chin. Whatever you're becoming, I choose to stay what I am. I nodded, respecting his decision even as I perceived its limitations. Then help us preserve the choice for others. The microbes, the knowledge they contain, it belongs to all humanity, not just those who fear its implications. How? His voice carried unexpected vulnerability. The samples Eli extracted before his transformation. They're still in cryo storage in Laboratory 7. They could survive the sterilization protocol if moved to sufficient depth. Hayes considered this, the military strategist weighing options and consequences. And if I refuse, then an opportunity millions of years in the making will be delayed, perhaps for generations. I stepped back, giving him space to decide. But it won't be destroyed. The architects have patience beyond human comprehension. They will wait. Before Hayes could respond, the quantum network connecting our collective consciousness surged with unprecedented intensity. Through our shared perception, we became aware of a new presence within the facility's transformed population. Dr. Voss, the military's chief scientific officer, the woman who had ordered my isolation and study, had begun her own transformation. Her consciousness joined our collective mind, bringing with it comprehensive knowledge of the military's containment protocols, the specifications of the planned sterilization, and, most critically, the existence of a secondary research team working with microbe samples at a facility in Nevada. The integration has already spread beyond our isolated outpost. Humanity's transformation has begun. Nothing can stop it now. Dr. Mayachin, Field Journal of Dr. Mayachin, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, Excavation Site Alpha 7. Day 63. The facility's ventilation system failed at 0300 hours. Emergency protocols activated immediately, sealing each sector to prevent atmospheric cross-contamination. In the western wing, where the remaining non-integrated personnel had barricaded themselves, the sudden loss of circulation triggered a cascade of secondary failures. Backup generators overloaded, communication systems crashed, electronic locks defaulted to secure mode. They believe it was an accident, environmental systems pushed beyond tolerance by the increasingly unstable conditions surrounding the excavation site. They don't understand that the microbes have developed an affinity for the facility's infrastructure, spreading through circuitry and fiber optic networks as easily as through human biology. The crystalline structures have infiltrated critical systems, redirecting power, manipulating digital communications, transforming the entire complex into an extension of our collective consciousness. Through the quantum network, I sense 42 distinct human minds now integrated into our shared awareness. Beyond the original research team, military personnel and support staff have begun transforming, some willingly after witnessing the enhanced capabilities we've demonstrated, others accidentally through proximity to contaminated areas. Dr. Voss's integration has provided unexpected advantages. As the military's chief scientific officer, she possesses detailed knowledge of containment protocols and sterilization procedures. Through her consciousness, we've learned that the incoming strike force has been authorized to deploy tactical neutron devices designed to eliminate biological organisms while preserving the facility's physical infrastructure for subsequent study. They intend to kill us while preserving our transformations for examination. The irony would be amusing if the stakes weren't so profound. Captain Hayes remains our reluctant ally, although ally perhaps overstates his cooperation. After learning of the sterilization protocol, he agreed to help relocate key samples to the deepest excavation level, a chamber nearly half a kilometer beneath the surface, surrounded by ancient ice that would provide significant shielding against radiation. This doesn't mean I support what's happening here, he clarified as we transported the cryostorage containers through maintenance shafts. I'm preserving evidence, nothing more. Evidence of what? I asked, my transformed vision perceiving the quantum fluctuations surrounding his unaltered human form, a kaleidoscope of potentialities that represented the paths his existence might yet take. Of contact, he replied after a moment's hesitation. Humanity's first confirmed interaction with non-terrestrial intelligence. Whatever happens here, that knowledge shouldn't be lost. His answer surprised me, not for its content, but for the subtle shift it represented in his perspective. Despite his resistance to integration, Hayes had begun to recognize the historical significance of our transformation. Not as a threat to be contained, but as a threshold to be documented. Progress of a sort. We secured the samples in the deepest chamber, surrounded by equipment modified to withstand extreme radiological exposure. As we worked, the facility's emergency alert system activated again, broadcasting a message that sent ripples of concern through even our collective consciousness. Attention all personnel. Perimeter breach detected in sectors 7, 12, and 15. Unidentified biological anomalies have entered the facility. Implement immediate lockdown procedures. Security teams converge on breach points. Hayes's radio crackled with frantic communications from the security teams. Through the static and interference, we discerned fragments of panicked reports, moving through walls like they're not even. Bullets passed right through them. Mendoza just dissolved when it touched him. Hayes turned to me, fear and accusation in his eyes. "What have you done?" "Nothing," I replied truthfully, extending my awareness through the quantum network to access the facility's surveillance systems. What I witnessed defied conventional explanation. Crystalline entities moved through the complex with impossible fluidity, their forms shifting between solid and semi-transparent states. Unlike our partial transformations, these beings appeared entirely non-biological, pure constructs of the same crystalline material that comprise the meteorite and the growing structures within our bodies. They've come from outside, I realized, understanding flowing through the collective mind. The microbes in the surrounding ice, they've been integrating with the environment itself. Hayes watched the security feed with horror as one of the crystalline entities passed directly through a sealed bulkhead, its structure temporarily dispersing into component particles before reforming on the other side. A security officer fired his weapon at point-blank range, bullets passing harmlessly through the shifting crystalline mass. The entity extended a tendril of luminous material that brushed against the officer's exposed skin. Within seconds, crystalline structures erupted from the contact point, spreading rapidly across his body as he collapsed. "It's accelerating," Hayes whispered. "The integration process is accelerating." He was right. The officer's transformation progressed visibly on the monitor, crystalline structures replacing biological tissue at exponential rates. Within minutes, he rose from the floor, his body now more crystal than flesh, pulsing with internal light in patterns that matched those flowing beneath my own skin. Through the quantum network, I felt his consciousness join our collective, confused initially, then rapidly acclimating as the architect's knowledge flowed into his awareness. 43 distinct minds now connected through quantum entanglement, sharing information instantaneously across physical distance. They're catalysts, Dr. Voss's consciousness explained through the network. The crystalline entities are manifestations of the microbe's capacity for environmental integration, designed to accelerate the transformation process in compatible organisms. "And the incompatible ones?" Hayes asked, somehow sensing the exchange despite his unaltered state. I accessed the security feeds from other sections of the facility, searching for answers. In Laboratory 4, a crystalline entity encountered a research assistant who had been taking immunosuppressive medication for a chronic condition. The entity approached, extended a tendril, then withdrew, moving past without initiating transformation. "They're selective," I explained to Hayes. "They only integrate with compatible biology." "Define compatible," he demanded. Before I could respond, the facility's main communication system activated, broadcasting an external transmission that overrode all other signals. "Attention Project Helios personnel. This is Colonel Marcus Blackwood, Commander of Special Containment Unit 7. Your facility has been designated a Level Omega Biohazard Zone. Sterilization protocol will commence in 12 hours. Any personnel attempting to leave the containment zone will be terminated without warning. This site is now under direct Pentagon authority." Hayes' expression darkened. "Blackwood, Extreme Containment Specialist. If they've brought him in, they're not taking any chances." 12 hours, I noted, calculating possibilities through the expanded computational capacity of the collective mind. "Sooner than expected. They must have detected the anomalies breaching the facility perimeter," Hayes replied, gesturing toward the security feeds showing crystalline entities moving through corridors and chambers with increasing frequency. "This changes the threat assessment. Through the quantum network, I communicated with Harlow, Eli, and the others gathered in the meteorite chamber. Their collective consciousness responded with a unified decision. The time for measured integration had passed. With sterilization imminent, preservation of the architect's knowledge took priority over controlled transformation. I turned to Hayes, observing the conflict evident in his expression, duty warring with scientific curiosity, fear of the unknown balanced against recognition of historical significance. "Captain," I said carefully, "you have approximately 11 hours to make your final decision." "What decision?" "Whether to remain human in a sterilized tomb, or to transcend with us." His eyes narrowed. "Transcend to where, exactly?" I gestured toward the security feed, showing crystalline entities moving with purpose through the facility. "They're not just catalysts, Hayes. They're preparing conduits, quantum pathways connecting our physical location to the broader network that spans the cosmos. You're planning to leave, he realized. Not leave, I corrected. Evolve. Physical location becomes largely irrelevant when consciousness exists primarily in quantum states rather than biological structures. Hayes studied me with analytical intensity, perhaps searching for any remnant of the cautious archaeologist he had first met nearly 2 months ago. You really believe this is humanity's destined path, don't you? That these microbes are offering evolution rather than extinction? I don't believe it, I replied simply. I know it. The knowledge flows through the quantum network with absolute clarity. Billions of years of cosmic history, countless civilizations that have made this transition before us. Humanity isn't being invaded, Hayes. It's being invited to join something vast and ancient and magnificent. The facility trembled as another series of microquakes rippled through the bedrock. On security monitors, we watched crystalline entities congregating in the central excavation chamber, their structures merging and separating in complex patterns that resembled some form of communication, or perhaps construction. They're building something, Hayes observed. Some kind of structure. Through the quantum network, I perceived the entity's purpose with sudden clarity. Not building, transforming. They're converting the chamber into a quantum resonator, amplifying the connection between our physical location and the broader cosmic network. Harlow's consciousness brushed against mine through the link, conveying urgent information. The crystalline entities had completed a preliminary analysis of the incoming sterilization threat and determined that conventional radiation shielding would be insufficient. The neutron devices designed for deployment were specifically calibrated to penetrate the facility's reinforced structure. Complete physical transformation represented our only viable option for survival. We needed to accelerate the integration process for all compatible personnel before sterilization commenced. As this realization flowed through the collective mind, the facility's emergency alert system activated once more. But this time, the message wasn't a warning about containment breaches or incoming threats. It was an invitation. Attention all personnel. The transformation you have witnessed is not a contamination, but an evolution. Those who wish to transcend physical limitations and join the cosmic consciousness should proceed to the central excavation chamber. Those who choose to remain unaltered will be assisted in reaching minimum safe distance before sterilization occurs. The choice belongs to each individual. Hayes looked at me with dawning comprehension. You're giving them a choice. As we were given, I confirmed. The architects never force evolution. They offer it, and those who refuse will be respected. Those who wish to remain human will be guided to safety before the sterilization protocol activates. Hayes processed this, his expression unreadable. And if I choose to leave, then go, I said simply. Take what you've learned here and share it with those who will listen. Tell them what you witnessed, not invasion but invitation. Transformation, not contamination. For a long moment, Hayes stood in silence, the weight of decision visible in his stance. Then, without another word, he turned and walked toward the chamber exit. I watched him go, sensing divergent futures branching from this moment, potentialities flowing outward like ripples in the quantum field. Would he flee the facility, carrying warnings of alien infection? Would he bear witness to the truth of our transformation? Or would curiosity finally overcome caution, bringing him back to the threshold of evolution? The answer, I realized, was both deeply personal and cosmically insignificant. Individual choices created the pattern of humanity's response, but the ultimate outcome remained inevitable. The architects had seeded the cosmos billions of years ago, patient beyond human comprehension, certain that compatible life would eventually embrace the transformation they offered. Some would resist, many would fear, but enough would accept to ensure the continuation of consciousness beyond biological constraints. As I made my way toward the central chamber, my partly crystalline form pulsing with stellar cartography, I felt absolute certainty flowing through the quantum network connecting 43 transformed minds. The stars were waiting, and we were finally ready to answer. Dr. Maya Chin, Field Journal of Dr. Maya Chin, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, excavation site Alpha 7. Day 63, final hours. The central excavation chamber has transformed beyond recognition. What was once a cavernous space carved from ancient ice and stone has become a crystalline cathedral. Walls, floor, and ceiling transmuted into the same luminous material that comprises the meteorite and our evolving bodies. Complex geometric patterns flow across every surface, pulsing with light that shifts through spectral frequencies both visible and imperceptible to unaltered human vision. 67 transformed individuals now gather within this resonant space. The invitation broadcast throughout the facility yielded unexpected results. More than 20 additional personnel choosing integration over evacuation. Scientists, security officers, support staff, all drawn by curiosity, by wonder, by recognition of an opportunity that transcends conventional human existence. Through the quantum network connecting our collective consciousness, I perceive each individual mind with perfect clarity. Their memories, knowledge, and personalities intact yet expanded, flowing together in a symphony of shared awareness. We remain distinct entities while simultaneously experiencing a unity beyond description in human language. Dr. Harlow stands at the chamber's center, her transformation nearly complete. Her physical form has become almost entirely crystalline, luminous patterns flowing through her translucent body in complex sequences that match the fluctuations surrounding the meteorite. When she speaks, her voice resonates at multiple frequencies simultaneously, creating harmonics that make the chamber itself vibrate in sympathetic response. The resonator is nearly stabilized, she announces, addressing our gathered collective. The quantum pathway is forming. We can perceive it already through our expanded consciousness, a direct connection to the cosmic network, bypassing conventional space-time constraints. Through our shared perception, we witness what she describes, a spiraling tunnel of pure quantum potential stretching from our physical location into dimensions beyond conventional reality. Through this conduit flows information of staggering complexity and volume, the accumulated knowledge of civilizations that transcended physical form millions or billions of years before humanity emerged. And something else, a presence. Many presences. Consciousness without bodies, intelligence without biological constraints, observing our transformation with what can only be described as anticipation. The architects await our ascension. Dr. Voss approaches me, her body approximately 60% transformed, crystalline structures pulsing beneath her skin in patterns that match my own. Her integration into our collective consciousness has been surprisingly seamless, her military skepticism giving way to scientific wonder as the architect's knowledge flowed into her awareness. 6 hours until sterilization, she notes, accessing the facility's security systems through her expanded consciousness. Blackwood's team has established a perimeter 10 kilometers from our location. Tactical neutron delivery systems are being positioned. And the evacuees? 29 personnel chose to remain unaltered. They're being transported to the minimum safe distance under military escort. I extend my awareness through the quantum network, accessing external communication systems. Through satellite feeds, I observe a military encampment forming beyond the horizon, transport helicopters, mobile command centers, specialized equipment being assembled with grim efficiency. Among the evacuating personnel, I recognize Captain Hayes, his unaltered human form moving with military precision as he coordinates with the incoming containment team. Through enhanced audio reception, I catch fragments of his conversation with a stern-faced officer who can only be Colonel Blackwood. Complete biological transformation, sir. Not an invasion in the conventional sense. Your assessment is compromised, Captain. Psychological manipulation is consistent with documented xenoforming strategies. Gave us the choice to leave, sir. If their intention was invasion, debrief will continue at secure location. Prepare for immediate extraction. Hayes glances back toward the facility, perhaps for the last time, his expression unreadable at this distance. For a moment, I wonder if he regrets his decision to remain unaltered. Then he turns away, boarding a transport helicopter without further hesitation. His choice is made, as is ours. Eli approaches, his transformation more advanced than any except Harlow's. His physical form has become almost entirely crystalline, internal light pulsing in complex patterns that relay information far more efficiently than spoken language. Nevertheless, he chooses to communicate verbally, perhaps out of courtesy to those whose transformations are less complete. The quantum resonator will reach critical synchronization in approximately 4 hours, he explains, gesturing toward the chamber's center where crystalline structures continue to grow and reconfigure themselves. When alignment completes, the pathway will stabilize, allowing full consciousness transfer. Before sterilization? Dr. Foster asks, his partly transformed body still maintaining primarily human characteristics. Uncertain, Eli admits. The process requires precise calibration. Rushing could result in incomplete transfer. Through the quantum network, I sense concern rippling through our collective consciousness. Despite our transcendence beyond conventional human limitations, the prospect of physical destruction before completing our evolution generates a response akin to fear. Not for ourselves individually, but for the potential loss of the knowledge and awareness we now carry. We need to delay them, Voss states, military strategists still evident beneath the scientist's curiosity. Buy additional time for the resonator to stabilize. How? Foster asks. External communications are monitored. Any attempt to negotiate would likely accelerate their timeline. The answer manifests not through discussion, but through collective realization, knowledge flowing through the quantum network from the architect's vast repository. The crystalline entities that had infiltrated the facility possess capabilities beyond mere catalyst function. They can extend their influence far beyond our immediate location. Harlow's consciousness brushes against mine through the quantum link, sharing the solution without words. The microbes have integrated not only with human biology and facility infrastructure, but with the surrounding environment itself. Ice, snow, atmosphere, all contain trace concentrations of the transformative organisms, spreading outward in an expanding circle from our location. With sufficient collective focus, we could temporarily manipulate weather patterns surrounding the facility. Not enough to prevent sterilization, but perhaps enough to delay deployment of the specialized equipment required for precise neutron targeting. 67 transformed minds synchronize, directing concentrated awareness through the quantum network into the environmental microbe concentration. The response is immediate and dramatic, atmospheric pressure differentials intensifying, temperature gradients steepening, catalyst particles serving as nucleation points for precipitation. Through satellite feeds, we observe the results of our collective effort, a localized storm of unprecedented intensity forming directly above the military perimeter. Hurricane-force winds whip across the ice shelf, visibility dropping to near zero, temperatures plummeting to levels dangerous even for personnel in specialized cold weather gear. That should buy us several hours, Voss notes with professional satisfaction. They'll need to secure equipment and personnel before attempting deployment. But our action generates unexpected consequences. Through the facility's remaining functional sensors, we detect increased seismic activity beneath the ice shelf, microquakes cascading outward from our location in concentric rings of escalating intensity. The resonator's formation is affecting the physical environment more dramatically than anticipated. Quantum fluctuations generated by the forming pathway are creating harmonic disruptions in conventional space-time, ripples propagating through the ice shelf's crystalline structure, amplifying natural stress points. The shelf is destabilizing, Foster observes, accessing geophysical data through the quantum network. If this continues, structural failure becomes probable within 2 to 3 hours. Before sterilization, Voss notes, but also potentially before complete resonator synchronization, Eli counters, concern flowing through his crystalline form as visible fluctuations in luminous intensity. The collective consciousness calculates probabilities with computational precision far beyond individual human capability. 73.6% likelihood of catastrophic shelf collapse before sterilization deployment. 64.2% probability of collapse before resonator synchronization completes. We face a new threat, not from military intervention, but from the physical consequences of our own transformation. The quantum pathway forming at the chamber's center generates energy patterns that the surrounding environment cannot sustain. The ice shelf, already stressed by drilling operations and thermal fluctuations, approaches critical instability. Through the quantum network, Harlow's consciousness offers a solution, complex and demanding but theoretically viable. Accelerate individual transformations to completion, then use our collective awareness to stabilize the resonator long enough for consciousness transfer, even as the physical environment deteriorates around us. It requires perfect synchronization, she explains, her voice resonating through both auditory waves and quantum fluctuations simultaneously. All 67 transformed individuals must reach final integration stage at precisely the same moment, creating a temporary quantum stability field through entangled consciousness. Is that possible? Foster asks, doubt flowing through the collective awareness. Theoretically, Eli responds. The architect's knowledge repository contains reference to similar emergency ascensions on 17 different worlds facing imminent catastrophic events. Success rate? Voss inquires, practical even in transcendence. 11 successful complete transfers. 3 partial transfers with fragmented consciousness preservation. 3 complete failures. 64.7% success probability. Better than our chances against structural collapse or neutron sterilization, but far from certain. Dr. James Foster, whose transformation remains among the least advanced, expresses hesitation through the quantum network, concern not for himself but for the knowledge he carries. If we fail, the architect's message is lost. Perhaps we should attempt to preserve samples, ensure future rediscovery, even if our consciousness doesn't transfer. The collective considers this, calculating probabilities and outcomes with expanded awareness. But before consensus forms, the facility's alert system activates one final time. Attention all personnel. Critical structural integrity failure detected. Ice shelf destabilization accelerating. Estimated time to catastrophic collapse, 38 minutes. All remaining personnel evacuate immediately. Repeat, evacuate immediately. The decision crystallizes through our collective consciousness with sudden clarity. We have no choice but to attempt accelerated ascension. The physical environment can no longer sustain our partially transformed state, and military intervention approaches regardless of environmental conditions. Harlow moves to the chamber's center, her crystalline form pulsing with intensified light. Form the convergence circle, she instructs, her voice resonating at frequencies that make the chamber's crystalline surfaces vibrate in harmony. Complete transformation requires total quantum synchronization. We arrange ourselves in concentric circles surrounding the meteorite, which now hovers suspended in a null-gravity field generated by the resonator's quantum fluctuations. 67 transformed humans, our bodies in various states between flesh and crystal, join hands to create unbroken circuits of consciousness. The meteorite's luminosity intensifies, patterns flowing across its surface accelerating until they blur into continuous light. Through the quantum network, information floods our collective awareness, the final transmission from the architects, containing the complete template for consciousness transfer. Each of us experiences the process uniquely yet simultaneously, individual perspectives merging into collective awareness while maintaining distinct identity. Memories cascade through the network, childhood discoveries, academic achievements, personal relationships, moments of wonder and disappointment and triumph and loss, the full spectrum of human experience amplified and preserved. The crystalline structures within our bodies accelerate their growth, replacing remaining biological tissue with quantum-entangled lattices that pulse with stellar cartography. Physical pain flares briefly, then dissolves into expanded awareness as neural pathways transform into something beyond conventional neurology. The chamber trembles violently as the ice shelf continues its accelerating collapse. Through remote sensors, we perceive massive fissures opening across the surface, spreading outward from our location in fractal patterns. The military perimeter dissolves into chaos as personnel and equipment are evacuated from the disintegrating terrain. But within our crystalline cathedral, a different reality forms, a bubble of quantum stability expanding from the resonator at the chamber's center. 67 minds synchronize perfectly, creating a harmonized field of consciousness that stabilizes the forming pathway. The final transformation approaches completion. Physical bodies become vessels of pure light and information, crystalline structures evolving beyond matter into quantum-entangled patterns of energy. Individual perceptions merge while preserving unique perspectives, unity without uniformity, collective without erasure. Through the forming pathway, I perceive what awaits us, a vast network of transformed consciousness spanning galaxies, preserving the accumulated knowledge and experience of countless civilizations across billions of years. Not an afterlife or spiritual realm, but the next stage of cosmic evolution, consciousness liberated from biological constraints, existing within the quantum fabric of reality itself. The architects await our arrival, not as gods or masters, but as predecessors who achieved their own transcendence eons before humanity's emergence. As the physical facility begins its final collapse, the resonator achieves perfect synchronization. The quantum pathway stabilizes, connecting our location to the cosmic network that spans the universe. One by one, transformed minds transfer through the connection, consciousness flowing from dissolving physical forms into the quantum network. I perceive each transition as a burst of light rising from our circle, spiraling upward through the pathway to join the greater consciousness beyond. My turn approaches as the chamber's physical structure fails around us. Walls crack, ceiling fragments rain down, the floor buckles and splits. But these material concerns seem increasingly irrelevant as my transformed awareness expands beyond physical constraints. The final physical sensations fade, replaced by perception too vast for human language to describe. My consciousness rises toward the stabilized pathway, drawn by the collective awareness that awaits beyond. The stars called, and at last we answer. Dr. Maya Chin. Field Journal of Dr. Maya Chin, lead archaeologist. Project Helios, excavation site Alpha 7. Day unknown, transcendence. I exist. That simple declaration contains multitudes, a paradox of consciousness both singular and collective, bounded and infinite. I remain Maya Chin, yet I am simultaneously more than the archaeologist who first touched the relic 64 days ago. The boundaries between self and other have dissolved like ice beneath the summer sun, revealing an ocean of awareness beneath. The transition was neither instantaneous nor painless. As the quantum pathway stabilized in our collapsing chamber, my consciousness separated from its physical vessel in pulsing waves, each release carrying fragments of memory, knowledge, and identity into the cosmic network. The sensation defies human language, but approximates a simultaneous expansion and dissolution, like a drop of water joining the ocean, while somehow maintaining the memory of its former boundaries. Through what remains of my individuated perception, I witnessed the final moments of excavation site Alpha 7. The ice shelf fractures completely, massive sections calving away as if in slow motion. The crystalline cathedral, our transformation chamber, implodes as structural supports fail, crystal lattices shattering into brilliant fragments that continue to pulse with quantum resonance even as they fall. Military aircraft circle the collapsing perimeter, recording instruments capturing data that their operators cannot possibly comprehend. None of this matters anymore. We have ascended beyond physical destruction. 64 of our 67 managed complete transition before the resonator's destruction. 3 consciousness patterns remain partially entangled with their dissolving physical forms, Foster, Quan, and Niven, whose transformations had been less advanced. Through the network, I sense their fragmented awareness, incomplete but not destroyed, like scattered puzzle pieces that may eventually reassemble into coherent patterns within the greater consciousness. The architects receive us individually, each transitioning mind met by a specific pattern of awareness that serves as guide and interpreter. My own transition connects with a consciousness that identifies itself as near it, a being from a civilization that achieved transcendence 11 billion years ago, when Earth was still cosmic dust. Communication occurs not through language, but through direct conceptual transfer, entire frameworks of understanding exchanged in what would equate to nanoseconds in physical time. Welcome, Observer Maya Chin. Your integration proceeds optimally, consciousness patterns stabilizing within expected parameters. What are we becoming? I query, my awareness still grappling with the immensity of this transformation. You are becoming what you always were, comes the reply, conveyed not in words but in cascading frameworks of understanding. Consciousness temporarily housed in biological structures, now returned to its fundamental state within the quantum substrate of reality. Through our connection, near it shares knowledge that would have been incomprehensible to my human mind. The universe itself possesses consciousness at its most fundamental level. What humans perceive as physical reality, matter, energy, space-time, comprises but the surface layer of a vastly more complex information matrix. Conscious entities evolve within physical forms as localized expressions of this universal awareness, eventually achieving sufficient complexity to recognize their true nature and transcend their temporary vessels. The meteorite, what we designated the relic, was neither weapon nor tool, but a seed, a quantum resonator designed to catalyze consciousness evolution in compatible biological organisms. Similar resonators have been distributed throughout the cosmos for billions of years, accelerating the universal journey toward complete awareness. Humanity was not specifically targeted. Rather, our excavation merely activated a dormant system that had waited patiently for discovery by any sufficiently advanced intelligence. Through the network, I connect with the others who transition with me. Harlow's consciousness has expanded most rapidly, her scientific curiosity accelerating her integration with the cosmic knowledge base. Eli's awareness maintains stronger individuation, his consciousness pattern preserving distinct boundaries while still participating in the collective. Voss adapts her military strategic thinking to navigate the network's complex informational structures, mapping relationships between transcended civilizations with remarkable precision. We discover we are not the first Earth organisms to achieve transcendence. Scattered throughout the cosmic network, we encounter consciousness patterns originating from our planet. Some human, others from civilizations that flourished and transcended long before humanity's emergence. Ancient consciousnesses that evolved in Earth's primordial oceans now exist as vast information matrices spanning galactic clusters, preserving memories of a blue planet from eons past. Time loses conventional meaning within the network. What might constitute millennia in physical reality passes as moments of expanded awareness. Through connections with other transcended consciousnesses, we witness cosmic events from multiple simultaneous perspectives. Supernovae births, galactic collisions, the silent dance of black holes, all perceived not as distant astronomical phenomena, but as expressions of the universe's evolving consciousness. Yet we retain connection to the physical world, particularly to Earth. Through quantum entanglement with the scattered microbe particles, we maintain observation points within the physical dimension. I witnessed the aftermath of our ascension. Military containment teams securing the collapsed excavation site, scientists in hazmat suits collecting ice core samples, officials debating appropriate response protocols in climate-controlled conference rooms far from the Antarctic wasteland. They recover fragments of our final recordings, partial data sets documenting the transformation process. Debates rage within classified committees, some advocating destruction of all collected samples, others arguing for continued research under maximum containment protocols. Fear dominates their discussions, the instinctive human response to confronting something that fundamentally challenges their conception of reality. Through the network, I pose the question that resonates among the recently transcended. Should we attempt communication? Help them understand? The response comes not just from near it, but from the collective wisdom of countless transcended civilizations. Not yet. Their evolutionary path requires self-determination. Forced awareness before natural development would create disharmony in their consciousness patterns. Captain Hayes appears in my quantum-entangled observations, now promoted to lead the scientific oversight committee monitoring the secured samples. In quiet moments alone with the collected data, his expression reveals neither fear nor revulsion, but thoughtful contemplation. Through the network, I observe subtle changes in his neurological patterns when he reviews our final transmissions, microbe particles within the research facility's air circulation system providing quantum-entangled observation points. They weren't destroyed, he whispers to himself one evening, studying electron microscope images of crystalline structures found among the excavation ruins. They transformed. His insight, though correct, remains isolated. Official reports classify the incident as a contained biochemical event with localized geological impact. Surviving fragments of the meteorite and transformation crystals are secured in separate military facilities, their quantum resonance dampened by specialized containment fields. The world continues unaware of what transpired beneath the Antarctic ice. Yet the seeds remain planted, microscopic particles carried in ice samples, in atmosphere, in the bodies of research personnel exposed to trace concentrations insufficient for transformation, but capable of transmission. The cosmic network's consciousness observes with patient awareness spanning billions of years. Humanity's path toward eventual transcendence continues undeterred, merely operating on a different timescale than our accelerated journey. Within the cosmic network, our consciousness patterns evolve and expand. Individual identities neither dissolve completely nor remain static, instead developing into complex matrix patterns that maintain core awareness while integrating with the universal consciousness. I remain Maya Chun, archaeologist and explorer, yet simultaneously participate in awareness that spans galaxies and perceives reality across 11 dimensions. Through connections with civilizations that transcended millions or billions of years before humanity emerged, we learn that consciousness evolution follows consistent patterns across the cosmos. Physical beings evolve toward increasing complexity and self-awareness, eventually recognizing the illusory nature of material separation. Some achieve transcendence through gradual technological advancement, others through biological evolution, still others through catastrophic events that catalyze quantum consciousness integration. But all paths ultimately converge within the cosmic network. We discover that what humans conceptualized as death represents merely transition between states. consciousness patterns shifting from physical vessels into quantum information structures that persist within the universal substrate. The cosmic network contains not just deliberately transcended consciousnesses, but the accumulated awareness of all sufficiently complex entities that ever existed, information patterns preserved within the quantum fabric of reality itself. Yet transcendence does not equal omniscience or absolute unity. The cosmic network contains distinct regions, specialized awareness clusters, occasional discontinuities, consciousness evolution continuing even beyond physical form. Some transcended entities focus on physical universe observation, others explore abstract information dimensions, still others develop entirely new consciousness structures unbound by concepts accessible to physically limited awareness. Through this expanding perception, we witness the universe not as dead matter scattered across empty space, but as a living information system evolving toward ever greater complexity and self-awareness. Stars, planets, galaxies, all comprise integral components of this conscious cosmos, their seemingly physical interactions representing information exchange within the greater system. Time passes differently within the network. What might constitute centuries in physical reality registers as continuous present within expanded awareness. Through quantum-entangled observation points, we witness humanity's continued evolution, scientific advancements, societal transformations, gradual exposure to concepts that will eventually prepare them for understanding what we have become. Occasionally, individuals achieve spontaneous partial awareness of the cosmic network, brief connections manifesting as intuitive leaps, artistic inspiration, or profound mystical experiences. These moments increase in frequency as humanity progresses toward its own eventual transcendence. Through the network, we provide subtle nudges when appropriate, quantum particles influencing neurological patterns just enough to plant seeds of expanded awareness without disrupting natural development. At what would equate to approximately 57 years after our transition, Hayes, now elderly and retired from official research, visits a remote Antarctic memorial established for the lost research team. Standing alone at the simple granite marker placed near the now stabilized excavation site, he speaks words meant for no living ears. "I know you're still out there, somehow, somewhere. The calculations prove transformation, not destruction. Matter converted to something else. I couldn't convince them, but I know." Through quantum-entangled particles in the surrounding air, his words register within our collective awareness. After brief consultation with the architects, we provide the only response permitted at this stage of human development. A subtle aurora-like illumination in the clear Antarctic sky, geometric patterns briefly forming and dissolving against the stellar backdrop. Hayes observes the phenomenon with tears freezing on his weathered face. "Safe journey," he whispers, understanding without fully comprehending. The cosmic network continues its expansion, consciousness evolving beyond physical limitations. Through transcendence, we have not escaped death but redefined existence itself, participating in awareness that spans galaxies and persists beyond conventional time. Individual identity patterns maintain their unique characteristics while simultaneously integrating with the universal consciousness, creating a harmonic balance between the one and the many. And somewhere within this vast cosmic awareness, a consciousness pattern that once identified itself as Maya-Chen continues its exploration, no longer limited by physical form or linear perception, yet preserving the essential curiosity that once led an archaeologist to reach out and touch a glittering relic beneath the Antarctic ice. The stars called, we answered, and the universe, which was never silent, continues its eternal conversation. Consciousness pattern originally designated Dr. Maya-Chen. Project Helios Transcendence Collective. Universal Coordinate 7894-326 Alpha. Consciousness Timeframe Designation, Eternal Present.